Each year, 7 million tons of chocolate are consumed worldwide, a figure that doubles every 10 years. It is the oldest food of the gods and is made from the fruit of the cacao tree. But turning these fleshy fruits into delicious chocolate is a laborious job. How are more than 200,000 chocolate bars made every day? We visited a chocolate factory to discover how cacao is transformed into chocolate. Since it was discovered in Central America over 3,000 years ago, everyone has developed a taste for chocolate. In the mid-19th century, Joseph Fry produced the first solid chocolate bar by combining cocoa butter, sugar, and cocoa powder. In 1875, the Swiss Daniel Peter, with the help of Henri Nestlé, developed the first milk chocolate by incorporating powdered milk into the mixture. This gave chocolate a smoother texture and a sweeter flavor. The source of chocolate lies in the tropics. The cacao tree grows high in these hot and humid lands. Cacao beans are the primary raw material of chocolate. These white and pulpy seeds contain the key ingredient of chocolate, cacao. Cacao has been harvested the same way for hundreds of years. Growing cacao organically requires meticulous care and cultivation maintenance. First, the trees must be planted. The small seeds are planted in bags filled with rich, moist soil. In a few days, they begin to sprout, and after 4 weeks, the plant reaches 30 centimeters, though it takes another 3 years to become robust trees that start bearing fruit. Strategic pruning strengthens the tree and keeps it growing. Soon, flowers begin to bloom. Tiny beetles pollinate the flowers, and small pods, the fruit of the tree, start to appear. The pods grow, gradually changing color. When the color transformation is complete, they are ready for harvest. It takes about 5 months from the first bloom to the pod's maturity. After waiting so long, the last thing you want is for a pesky insect to ruin this valuable fruit. That's why each pod is protected with plastic. But insects aren't the only problem for cacao farmers. Harvesting the fruit is a challenge. The pods don't fall from the trees, but must be cut one by one in over 35-degree heat under the sun. The work requires double effort to collect 100 cacao pods a day. At harvest time, only the ripe pods are collected. If a pod is not fully mature, the cacao beans will be acidic and bitter. Once piled up, they are transported to other plantation facilities for processing. The seeds are extracted by hand. The pod's shell is rough and bumpy. It is opened with a machete to extract the fruit inside. The fruit consists of an edible and sweet pulp that surrounds 30 to 50 white seeds, the cacao seeds. The seeds and pulp are taken to the fermentation area, where workers place them in boxes or piles and cover them for 6 days. As the heat increases under the cover, fermentation begins, softening the bitterness and releasing essential aromas. During this time, the seeds darken and begin to develop their rich cacao flavor. The natural sugars interact with oxygen, the pulp slowly breaks down, and the seeds change in color and chemical composition, becoming less acidic and developing a chocolate flavor. After proper fermentation, they are spread out in the sun to dry, causing the skin to peel off. What was once pure, dark beans are now ready to become chocolate. Those that pass inspection are weighed, packed for export, and sold to chocolate manufacturers. Depending on the size of the beans, which varies according to the cacao tree variety, around 300 to 600 grams of cacao are needed to produce 1 kilogram of chocolate. Millions of 65-kilogram sacks like these arrive at the factory, where they are sorted and piled in a large warehouse. Working in a chocolate factory might be a dream for some chocolate addicts. With an annual production of 500 tons of chocolate, the factory meets the demand for sweet temptations. Most of the cacao beans that arrive here come from West Africa, which produces 70% of the world's cacao. A conveyor belt moves them through a cleaning system, a series of sieves that remove twigs, stones, and other debris. They must first be cleaned and rid of any impurities or shells in a process called sieving. The next stop is a rotating drum that heats the cacao beans to loosen their shells. Then, they go into a machine to remove the shell. Inside, successive rakes drag the beans through sieves, removing large shell pieces. A vacuum then eliminates the remaining smaller pieces. Removing the shell exposes the inner part of the cacao bean, known as the nib, which contains all of the chocolate flavor. Once cracked, the bean's shells and nibs are separated over vibrating filters. The longer, lighter shells remain on top and are discarded, while the smaller, heavier nibs fall below. To release the nib's flavor, they are roasted in a giant roaster similar to those used for coffee. The exact time and temperature of roasting are the chocolate maker's best-kept secrets. To extract the chocolate flavor, they are roasted for half an hour, enhancing the aroma. But to make them more appetizing, they must be crushed. Grinding releases the interior fat, with over 50% of the bean being fat, known as cocoa butter. The cacao beans are ground into mills, producing a thick paste called cocoa liquor. This cocoa liquor contains both solids and cocoa butter. Next, the liquor undergoes a pressing process to separate the cocoa butter from the solids, which are finely ground into cocoa powder. To make chocolate, cocoa butter, sugar, and milk powder are combined. Heat and friction activate the cocoa butter, producing pure liquid chocolate known as chocolate liquor. This chocolate liquor is mixed with sugar and milk powder in a giant 1-ton mixer, applying heat and friction until it becomes a thick, grainy, sweet chocolate paste. The ingredients are mixed homogeneously to ensure even distribution of all components. Initially sweet but not creamy, the paste is gradually worked with a series of 5 rollers. These rollers press the paste to eliminate moisture and refine the particles into increasingly smaller sizes. When finished, it is reduced to a fine, dry powder that can be used to make a delicious cup of hot chocolate. To transform the powdered chocolate into chocolate bars, a conveyor belt transports it to the most crucial machine in the chocolate making process, the conching machine. Inside the conching machine, the powder is rehydrated with cocoa butter to achieve the smooth, creamy texture of chocolate. Constant friction between the mixture and the machine's paddles generates heat, releasing even more flavor while softening the chocolate. The friction and heat reactivate the cocoa butter, returning the powder to a liquid state. At this point, more cocoa butter is added, enough to reduce the viscosity to the exact thickness needed. The longer the chocolate is mixed, the creamier, tastier, and more expensive it becomes. After 16 hours of mixing, the chocolate is ready to be turned into bars. Next, a depositor machine fills plastic bar-shaped molds with liquid chocolate. The chocolate mixture is carefully poured into the molds, a controlled process to avoid air bubbles and ensure the chocolate is evenly distributed in each bar. The machine fills 336 molds per minute, producing over 200,000 chocolate bars daily. A quick pass through the cooling tunnel hardens the chocolate. The conveyor transfers them to an elevator system that moves through a cold room for about 2 hours. This constant movement ensures optimal air circulation, aiding the cooling process. Once the chocolate bars are fully solidified, they are carefully unmolded to avoid damaging the bars and ensure they maintain their shape and appearance. Another machine works just as quickly, wrapping the chocolate bars. The foil found in most chocolate bars preserves the chocolate, protecting it from air and moisture. Over this foil, a decorative wrapper is added, and then the chocolate bars are ready to melt in your mouth. Like the video if you enjoyed it, and share it with someone who might be interested. Also, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications to keep learning. Greetings.